It is April 28th, and for today's Old School update, we received the Arceuus Spellbook beta. The new quest, A Kingdom Divided, will be entering the game here very soon. We don't know the exact date just yet, but just know it will be coming in the next few weeks. And in preparation for that, today, the Old School team just released a few beta worlds where you can now test the new Arceuus spells that will be coming alongside the new quest. But along with the new spells, there will also be some subtle changes to the old ones, just like the reanimation spells. Rather than having reanimate for every single different type of monster, they will now be put into 4 different categories. These are basic reanimation, adept reanimation, expert reanimation, and then master, all requiring different levels, with master being all the way at 90. And here on the side you can also see the runes it takes, the XP it gives, and what monsters fall within this category. But in terms of cleanliness and simplicity, I think this update will actually be very good for the game. And one thing I do want to quickly note before we go on is that these spells have already been implemented in the main game, including the reanimate feature. This is actually already present in the main game with today's update. These are not included in the beta. Those are strictly the new spells. These have actually already been implemented and are ready to use right away as soon as you log in. In terms of the teleport spells, the only one that I even notice is any different is the now Arceuus Library, which requires 6 magic, and this replaces the original Lumbridge Graveyard teleport. Now moving on to the big part of today's update, and that is the beta worlds and all of the new spells that you can now test. We're going to go ahead and read through all of these and what they do, hopefully without taking too much time, but give you a great idea of some of the new spells that will be coming into the game. First one is Ghostly Grasp, and this is 35 magic requirement, and it has a 10% chance to stop the enemy from moving for 2 ticks. And then we have Resurrect Ghost, which is 38 magic requirement, and it resurrects a ghost that will attack your enemy with magic damage at the cost of 2 prayer points. It will then remain alive for a cycle for every magic level the player had at the time, and has a max hit of 1. Meaning, I guess if you had 99 magic and you spawned one of these ghosts, it would remain around for 99 cycles, and have the potential to hit 99 total damage technically, I guess, while only costing you 2 prayer points. Then we have Inferior Demon Bane, and this spell requires 44 magic, and it only works against demon foes, and it is essentially just like the Crumble Undead spell, but for demons rather than undead creatures, and it has a 27 plus damage potential. Next spell we have Shadow Veil. This requires 47 magic, and it is a skilling spell, and it has a 15% chance to avoid stun damage while thieving, and it will remain active at 1 cycle for every magic level the player has at the time, and this does stack with the Dodgy Necklace. Moving on, we have Dark Lure, and this requires 50 magic. It is a skilling spell, and it attracts an enemy towards you and prevents fleeing. This doesn't work on foes who cannot move. Now we have Skeletal Grasp, and this requires 56 magic. It's a combat spell, and it has a 25% chance to stop the enemy from moving for 4 ticks. And Skeletal Grasp is essentially an upgrade for the Ghost Grasp we read earlier, and so is Resurrect Skeleton, just a higher up version, and this requires 57 magic, and it resurrects a skeleton that will attack your enemies with ranged attacks at a cost of 4 prayer points, and it will remain alive for the same magic cycles with a max hit of 2. Now we have the Mark of Darkness, and this requires 59 magic, and it offers quite the bonuses. For example, an enemy with this spell cast upon them suffers an array of debuffs. Corruption occurs twice as often, your grasping spells are twice as effective, Demon Bane spells deal an additional 25% damage against demonic enemies, and Demon Bane spells have additional 25% accuracy. And this spell will last a cycle for every magic level the player has. Honestly, that's quite the support spell, and I'm really interested to see what kind of ways people can figure out how to use that. Now we have Superior Demon Bane. And now rather than 27 plus damage, you can hit 36 plus with a base hit of 23. Once again, only working against demonic foes. Now we have Lesser Corruption. This requires level 64 and has a 33% chance to inflict corruption upon your target. And we'll go ahead and touch on corruption here in a minute. Next up is Vile Vigor, and this requires 66 magic, and it converts all your prayer points into run energy. Very interesting spell. Now we have Degrime. And as you could probably expect, this requires 70 magic, and it cleans all herbs in your inventory, but you only do get half the herb lore experience. Now we have Ward of Arceuus, and this requires 73 magic, and when this is cast, the player gains an array of buffs. You're immune to corruption, your grasp spells only last for 0.6 seconds, and damage from demonic foes is reduced by 10%. So kind of the opposite of the other support spell in Mark of Darkness. Now we have the final upgraded versions of the Resurrect and Grasp spells, and this is Resurrect Zombie, and this one takes 6 prayer points and does a max hit of 3, requiring 76 magic to use, and then Undead Grasp, which requires 70 mind magic, and has a 50% chance to stop the enemy from moving for 4 ticks. And if you hadn't already noticed, these are essentially like now the Arceuus version of the Bind or Freeze spells, and similar to the Freeze spells, these can damage. Now going into the final ones, we have Death Charge, and this requires 80 magic, and when cast, the next Slayer creature that the caster kills will recharge 15% of their special attack energy. A very interesting concept. Interested to see how that one works out. And now we have Dark Demon Bane, the highest of the Demon Bane spells, requiring 82 magic, and having the potential of 43.5 plus damage hits with a 30 base max hit. Now the second to last spell is Greater Corruption, requiring 85 magic and a 66% chance to inflict corruption upon your target. And now for the final spell of the new Arceuus Spellbook, we have Sinister Offering, requiring 92 magic. This allows you to convert up to 3 sets of bones into prayer points and gives 3 times the base experience. Along with this update, all of these staffs listed below have been given auto-cast capabilities. And now let's go ahead and touch on Corruption. And when a player is inflicted with Corruption, you essentially start to lose prayer points over time. After 6 seconds, 1 prayer point is drained. After another 6, 2 is drained. And then after a final 6, 3 is drained. And if something like the Mark of Darkness spell is also cast on top of it, the corruption occurs every 3 seconds rather than every 6. And now for Resurrection. Actually, to perform resurrection spells now, players will need to equip the Book of the Dead. And this is a new magic book will be obtained as a reward from a Kingdom Divided. And this is essentially an upgrade to the completed Cardus Memoirs. The book will provide +6 magic and +6 prayer, and completion of the quest is required in order to equip it. A couple other small changes they've made in preparation for a Kingdom Divided's release. They've adjusted some of the more unique hit splats. They've added some more capabilities to spell filtering, and now X marks a spot. The quest is a requirement for Client of Kourend. A few more items have been added to the rebalance list this week, including the Guthans, Verox, Derek's, and Torag's Legwear now having a -11 ranged attack instead of 7. The Granite Hammer now just requires 50 strength rather than 50 attack and strength. And the Obsidian Mace has increased its attack rate from 5 to 4. Now for Below Ice Mountain, players can now exchange some excess items for Baronite Shards. And they've also made some changes to the vault. The drop table has been rebalanced, and the entry fee has been dropped to 750 shards rather than 1,000. Honestly, if you've seen my vault video, this is a much needed and very necessary adjustment because that thing was absolutely garbage. And finally, for the final update of this week, we have Tempoross changes, and these are essentially just small quality of life changes. They've now added your personal best and time taken stats, and you can see these on the board in the ruins, as well as a new overlay for the lobby and surrounding area, and a quick climb option to the Tempoross lobby ladder. But that is it. Those are all of the updates this week in Old School. If you guys did enjoy the video, consider dropping a like, and if you're around here often, subscribe and hit that notification bell, all of which massively help out the channel. But if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.